Marshalltown has been tested again and again. In 2018, a tornado cut across town.
Trio of tornadoes ripped through parts of central Iowa. In Marshalltown, some of the damage left behind was catastrophic.
In 2020, a derecho flattened canopies and the grid. Then COVID-19 magnified every crack. Of the wreckage, neighbors here built a network around food.
When the tornado happened, it went down through the center section of Marshalltown, started on the west side of the community, left on the east side, just made a straight path across. But that also meant that individuals on the north and the south side that weren't personally impacted with it were able to come together and help go out and help in neighborhoods, help provide meals to families who didn't have electricity, didn't have resources.
And in their wake, Marshalltown discovered a challenge far greater than broken buildings or lost roofs. The storms revealed a deeper crisis: access to food. But even amid devastation, Marshalltown's story would not be one of loss. It would be one of resilience, creativity, and hope, grown from the ground up.
Marshalltown and Marshall County is really a community that has always come together and banded together when something has happened in the community.
During the derecho, everybody was hit. Nobody had electricity for up to a week, and JBS got their big grill out and they fed in their neighborhood. So you knew you could go there and get dinner.
For families across Marshalltown, the question wasn't only about repairing walls and windows. It was about putting food on the table. When disaster struck, food insecurity surged. Families who had never needed help before found themselves at food pantries. For some, healthy food became a luxury they could no longer afford.
People struggling to eat healthy. Eating healthy, it's expensive. It gets expensive. Buying a bag of salad or just fruit and vegetables in general can add up to your grocery list. Instead of, just getting those noodles or canned items that don't really have any nutrition value on them. Families are just struggling and they rather get those things than just fruit and vegetables, because it's either that or getting cut on other personal items that they also have to get for their family.
In a small building downtown, Emergency Food Box has operated since 1983. Serving all of Marshall County. In the last year, demand surged.
Emergency Food Box was formed in 1983 by a group of pastors to meet the needs of a growing food insecurity. We've been in business for over 40 years. We serve all of Marshall County, which is close to 40,000 people, and roughly we estimate 10% as food insecure.
A typical day, we start at 1:30, but we may have 5 to 8 families waiting for us to get opened up. They are going to get a pager so that we can keep track of who came in at what time. And then we are going to ask some confidentiality questions with who we call our day chair at the computer system. And from there, then we will offer them, based on the size of their family, the amount of food that we will provide for them. We try to offer what we consider 3 to 5 days worth of food for that family. And they're going to get canned and produce. We try to always have fresh produce, whether it's carrots or apples or potatoes, canned items, and we have frozen meats, breads, some rescue items from restaurants around the area. Right now, our numbers are jumping so much. We used to serve 280 families a month, and then I went to 350 families a month, and then I went to 400 families a month, and now the last 2 months we're serving 500 families a month. And so just keeping up with that in terms of what we can do in a day with 40 families coming in and trying to meet that need, trying to make sure that we have that much food on our shelves for them is certainly a challenge right now.
In 2024, we served 20,000 In 23, we served about 16,000, and we'll probably go over 20,000 this year, well over 20,000.
We would not be able to do what we're doing today if we were still in the other location at all.
Yeah, we just tripled our floor space. And we also have a back door to load in. In our old building, we had to bring food in the front door and go out the front door. So in terms of operations, this is much better for logistics. We've also had a company in town here donate freezer storage for 30-some years, and they can't do that any longer. So our choice was to build an outside, buy and build an outside freezer. So that's ready. Right now that's going on this next month or so.
The tornado and derecho hit hardest in low-income neighborhoods, areas already fragile. Families who had barely repaired their homes were hit again, this time forced to choose between groceries and rent.
MICA is Mid-Iowa Community Action. The basis around us is fighting poverty, and so everything that we do stems from eliminating poverty in our communities. We're a part of a network of over 1,000 people nationwide, and we serve 5 core counties in central Iowa. During the tornado and derecho, people were losing freezer-fulls of food, and so how are they able to make up that if their insurance doesn't cover, if they don't have insurance? So kind of the basis of a lot of what we do is with the funding and trying to give them the help to get back on their feet or the funds to buy those food items. County a disaster, we kicked in our disaster assistance program. So there was a grant, the Iowa Individual Assistance Grant Program, and then disaster case advocacy or case management. And so I actually was a case manager for both of those events for those, and so that kicks in a lot more than just looking at food, but food is a huge part of it. So we meet with families to figure out what their needs are, what insurances they have, and where we can help so we can supply some money to pay for their home repairs. Or the big one was the gift cards for food so that they could just restock or have something to eat during those times. During the COVID years, we had tons of extra funding that we could give to families for more food or pay more of their utility bill, so they had that flexibility of using other income for other things. And that's gone. It's gone now, and more families are needing resources for food. They're feeling food insecure, and there are less resources. And so that, I think, is a trend that we've seen over the last couple of years that I expect to continue.
In the face of hardship, Marshalltown's strength shone through. Neighbors, nonprofits, schools, and churches took action. They increased food access, planted gardens, and stocked small pantries across town, ensuring food was available to anyone, anytime. These little free pantries, open 24 hours a day, became lifelines. They were places of trust, where families could take what they needed without shame.
I would say we have really grown since 2018 in terms of our food systems. You know, the students put up some of the first little free pantries, and now our network is over 30.
We have 10 free little food pantries around Marshalltown. We have 13 out in the county in rural locations, and those are getting used more and more and more.
It was Amy who came to do a program for us and tell us what they were doing and why, and asking for assistance. And I recently retired and needed something to do, and it was this would be an easy thing for me to step into and start doing. So she asked for a food pantry, and they delivered the material, and I just got the saw and stuff out in the garage and started doing my thing and built her a pantry. When we started doing the food drive with the extension group, they needed somebody to be the collector, and I kind of volunteered. We're just evolving with, we always say, if you can't give me food, give me money, I'll go shop. And it just fills my time and helps people. This is just an easy way to do that.
You know, every little pantry is a champion, and that champion figures out how to fill those pantries and invite the community. That little pantry network has really tackled food insecurity.
I'm behind the scenes. I just do things. You go out, you do a little shopping, you take some food, you put it in a pantry, you give it to someone, and you don't tell anybody that you did it, and it just appears. And then when it disappears, you do it again. Recently, we've gotten an influx from the Southeast Asia countries, and they don't eat the same thing that, you know, some of the other people eat. So I said, so what do you need? Well, one needed more black beans and rice, and one needed more fish and noodles. So then we try and accommodate that also, you know, make sure they get what works best for them.
What's nice about Marshalltown is that it's a culturally diverse community. And to meet those needs, it's nice that the folks that are running the food pantries know the needs of the people of their community. And so that makes it easier for us to be very purposeful in the foods that we purchase with the dollars that are donated so we can meet their needs. Rotary also started working at the House of Compassion, and we do cook and serve one meal a month. We also serve with our church, and we're serving between 45 and 55 people every night. And so those are the folks who show up, and we could probably triple that on any given night. So the food insecurity piece between our food pantries and working at House of Compassion, and then just the opportunity for other organizations to get involved. Our efforts seem to be able to multiply and intensify, and just it becomes better and better.
At the same time, community gardens grew across Marshalltown. Volunteers, led by master gardeners, planted and harvested fresh produce to share with food pantries.
We have a very large donation garden, and many of the volunteers volunteer in those gardens. I have 11 on-site gardens in Marshall County, most of them in Marshalltown, but I am growing on outlying towns as well. And then we give, every site collects their produce, washes, weighs, and then gives it back to a pantry somewhere in the county. Iowa State had the Growing Together Iowa grants, and that really jump-started what I do here in the county and getting that fresh produce out into the hands. Without those many grants that I was granted several years ago, I wouldn't probably be where I'm at. I've since then worked my way up and gotten a lot of people to know about our program, and then they are able to give me larger donations when I need them to continue to get that fresh produce out into people's hands. Having the tornado and then the derecho hit just in like 2 years' time really had a lot of people have financial issues. I mean, houses that were hit got hit again, and that's a really big strain here in Marshall County, where we saw a lot of people not be able to rebuild after derecho, or it took a really long time. They hadn't even rebuilt from the tornado yet, so that hurt their financial stability, and that's kind of where, you know, this project all started. And then Amy and I and Grizel also we just felt that it was our duty to act upon it and give everybody our resources that we could. I actually took the Master Gardener class with Chelsea this year, so I'm learning more about cultivating my own food. So I have my own garden at home, and I do bring some of the stuff back here to donate back to the community. I actually give those tips as well to like my family or my neighbors, saying, hey, this is what I did in my garden. This is really like low maintenance to do. Or I've been advertising her class as well. I think it helped me a lot in my own personal life.
It was our first year of the program in 2 of our schools, and one school actually erected some of the first little free pantries. At that time, there was no grocery stores in that whole school district. We put up 4 pantries. There was one already existing, and still today those students stock them, but the community also stocks them. So I think the pandemic led us all to understand food security better.
We did not do any food rescue until probably about 3 years ago. And so now we do food rescue. We've done Hy-Vee with our breads for years. But now we do food rescue with the Quick Stars in town, the Dollar Generals in the area. We just started with Starbucks just this week. Food rescue means, so for example, at the Quick Star, they have their sandwiches out on the hot shelf. They're only allowed to have them there for a certain length of time, and then they have to pull them off. So instead of them being thrown away, they're tossed into a box in their freezer, and then we have a volunteer who goes there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and brings those to us. It's one of the best things in terms of it's food that's not getting thrown away, that is still very edible and usable to families here, and they're grateful to have it.
In prior summers, our families that were eligible for SNAP benefits received a $40 gift card once a month to buy groceries because there is not necessarily food in the schools or they can't get there. And this summer, they have to come to the emergency food box. And unfortunately, they shouldn't feel shameful, but they do. And we are giving them what the government has given us. And they give them waffle mix, but no syrup, right? They don't give them rice and beans. And we have lots of different populations here. There's over 40 languages spoken in our school. All kids eat different. All kids want different food. So let the consumer decide.
Marshalltown's food resiliency story extends beyond gardens and pantries. It is also about partnerships and policies, connecting local efforts with statewide vision. Collaboration with the Food Bank of Iowa and state leaders helps stabilize food access during the hardest months.
You got to go where folks are, and you got to be really intentional about listening. You just look over the last 5 years or so here, we've had historic levels of drought, followed by historic levels of flooding. And in the midst of that, tornadoes, derechos, wind, blizzards, the normal things that we deal with, and yet extremes in terms of dryness and then with too much moisture. The weather affects farm operations, and you've got to be doing things to manage that and to accommodate for that. It's also why it's so important that we have policy that supports farms and their risk management tools and the safety net for agriculture. You go back to COVID, and you clearly had a disrupted supply chain, and that changed a lot of things and brought some awareness, I think, to people. More of a question of where do the things I need come from? And you also then, you're kind of pairing that up with a growing desire on the part of American consumers, and certainly Iowa consumers are no different, of wanting to shop local. And so you bring this convergence of something that's not so good, which was the supply chain disruption, and something that's really good, which is people wanting to know more about where their food comes from and can connect with farmers. And we thought, boy, this is the moment, I think, to ignite this initiative in Iowa. And so we launched Choose Iowa, which is our branded program for Iowa grown, Iowa made, Iowa raised. It's available to folks from all kinds of backgrounds and different avenues in, and we love it. And in the end, also consumers are getting more of what they want, which is they want things that are made here in Iowa, and they want to know more about it.
At the state level, new programs took root. By connecting farmers directly to consumers, Iowa's policies are helping communities like Marshalltown shorten the distance between the farm and the table, while strengthening local economies.
The derecho hit our entire community, and I think that really put us to even more of a test than the tornado itself. Everybody was impacted. Everybody within our county was impacted. And that really highlighted a factor of when everybody is in your community is impacted, where do we look at for those resources? Where do, as a community that comes together to help each other, where do we reach out to for help when we all are impacted with that? And I think this committee coming together has really shown us that there's support throughout the state that we can reach out to the Iowa Food Bank and to other organizations to come in and help local communities when they're fully impacted.
I think there's a lot of myths or different ideas about what poverty looks like or what food insecurity looks like and how families get there. And so that's one of my favorite parts of my job, is really telling Micah's story, or telling the story of families that come to Micah, that it's not a one-size-fits all. It's not a maybe they just don't want to work. Like, that's one of the biggest myths. It's really just people are experiencing hardships. And so awareness and understanding and really talking to the people who are going through that would be huge, and then funding to help us, continue to meet these basic needs for these families who are struggling.
During the derecho COVID time period was when it really first got started. I gathered as much produce as I could and actually put it outside of our office on a table, and I just Facebook promoted it. And then that jump started in 2021 when COVID was still going on. My master gardeners okayed the project to have the large pantry that's sitting outside of our office. They built it, funded it, helped support me, and then that's just grown into where I'm standing now as well. So we saw a lot of people who were in need, and we acted, and it's still going now in 2025.
You just do it, and it benefits everybody, not only those that are receiving the food, but those who are contributing to the effort. It's gratifying.
None of us want to keep talking about the disaster times and the response times, but shame on us if we don't learn lessons from those experiences, whether they be, again, a weather disaster and how can we be more resilient in the face of those types of challenges, or whether it was talking supply chain and the types of things that we can do to shorten the distance between the farm and the table, and what can we do to make that more resilient, and, by the way, create more market opportunities in the process. Those can be very good things that can come out of some very bad things.
I love what I do because I love seeing people improve themselves, get themselves to a better point in their lives. I love seeing people learn more and engage with partnerships around the community.
Yeah, I would love to see even more than 11 locations here and continue to grow in the outside little towns. I'm getting there very slowly. I'm only one person with all my wonderful master gardeners behind me, but we're getting there one by one. And I would love to also see us somehow work with the farmers markets a little bit more. I've been there to promote my program and that kind of stuff, but I would love to see my master gardeners either take on responsibility to me be a vendor because we have such a large site, or whether we rescue the produce that farmers can't sell and they're just not able to get rid of doing those rescuing. We just haven't been able to do that yet, but I would love to see that be a big goal in the future.
Iowa agriculture is always a mix of honoring our past, as in we have this long history in this state, generations of farming in this state that have done some very traditional things like livestock production, corn and soybean, mixed with what's new, what's next, what's the innovative opportunity to go to the next place. And I love that about the way that we do things in the state of Iowa. And so in 5, 10, or 20 years, I believe that we will, in many ways, look pretty similar. We're going to continue to be doing many of the things that we're really good at. We're a corn and soybean commodity producing state. And then we take those commodities and we add value by feeding them to livestock, making biofuels or other bio-based anything and everything products. We add value through processing. And as we continue to do those things, I continue to believe that there'll be more and more of a focus on local foods, on a more diverse agriculture. It'll need to be that way because we talk a lot again about how do we bring more people into agriculture? How do we bring more people into the state of Iowa? It's never been easy to start farming, and if that's the case, then you'd better have more avenues to get into it than ever before. And whether that be through any number of career opportunities that exist for young people, or whether that be providing whatever it is that the Iowa consumer or the U.S. consumer wants and is willing to pay for, I believe that we will be playing in that space. I think what I'm most encouraged about is that I try to look in the grand scheme of things is that the last few years we've built a foundation. We've started some things. Choose Iowa is off and running. It's only a year and a half or 2 years old. When that is 20, 30, 40 years old, what will it be doing at that time? I love to think about that and how it will have evolved. But it can't be 20 years old unless it's first a year and a half or 2 years old. It can't be successful in 20 if we're not doing the things today to make it so. And so that's where I'm excited about where we are today, because we've more than laid the foundation. Now we're thinking about how to expand. We've got more opportunities than ability to respond at this point. That's a good place to be. And that just means that we can continue to build over time. So I think Iowa will continue to have our strong reputation for agriculture, certainly in this country, I believe globally. I think we are unique. There are many agriculture producers in the world, producing places in the world, but we are smack dab in the middle of the heartland of the United States. And I can't think of a better place to be doing the things that we're doing than right here. I wouldn't trade it with anybody in the world. I like our opportunities, I like where we sit in the world. And so I think the future is very bright for us, and excited to see what happens.
In Marshalltown, food has become more than survival. It is community, it is dignity, it is resilience. And it will carry this city forward no matter what storms may come.